Emma moved into her new apartment with a sense of excitement and trepidation. The city was new, her job was fresh, and she was eager to start this chapter of her life. The apartment was perfect. Spacious, affordable, and conveniently located near her workplace. The only downside was that she had to share it with a roommate. The landlord had assured Emma that her new roommate, Clara, was a quiet, considerate person. Clara was rarely home as she traveled a lot for work, which suited Emma just fine. When she first moved in, Clara was away on one of her trips, leaving Emma to settle in alone. The apartment was eerily silent during those first few days. Emma noticed that Clara's room was always locked. There was nothing strange about that. She assumed Clara had valuables she wanted to keep safe. One evening, after a particularly stressful day at work, Emma collapsed onto the couch, eager to unwind. She turned on the TV, but it flickered and died almost immediately. Annoyed, she decided to read a book instead. As she reached for her novel, she heard a faint whisper. "Emma." She froze, her heart pounding. The whisper was so soft she could have imagined it. Shaking off her fear, she chalked it up to exhaustion and decided to call it a night. Around midnight, she was jolted awake by the sound of footsteps outside her bedroom door. They were slow, deliberate, and unsettling. Her mind raced. Could Clara have returned without her noticing? She listened intently, but the footsteps ceased as suddenly as they had started. The next morning, Emma decided to check in with the landlord. She casually asked about Clara's return schedule. "Clara?" the landlord said, sounding puzzled. "She shouldn't be back for another week at least." Emma's blood ran cold. That night, she decided to stay up and see if the footsteps would return. Sure enough, around midnight, she heard them again. This time, she mustered the courage to open her door and look. The hallway was empty, but Clara's door was slightly ajar. Heart pounding, Emma approached the door and pushed it open. Clara's room was immaculate, almost eerily so. Everything was perfectly in place, except for a single old-fashioned diary on the bed. Hesitantly, Emma picked it up and started to read. The diary belonged to Clara, but the entries were chilling. Clara wrote about seeing someone in the apartment, someone who shouldn't be there. She described the same footsteps Emma had heard, the whispers, and the sense of being watched. The last entry was particularly disturbing. "I don't know who or what it is, but it's getting closer. I can hear it outside my door every night. I think it's coming for me." As Emma read the final words, she felt a cold breath on her neck. She spun around, but no one was there. The room felt oppressively cold, and she could see her breath misting in the air. In a panic, Emma ran out of Clara's room and straight to her own. She locked the door, but the sense of being watched grew stronger. She could hear the footsteps again, right outside her door. They stopped, and the doorknob slowly began to turn. Emma grabbed her phone and dialed the landlord. "Please, you have to come. There's something in the apartment," she whispered urgently. "I'm on my way," the landlord replied, sounding alarmed. Emma huddled in the corner of her room, clutching her phone. The doorknob stopped turning, and the silence that followed was more terrifying than the noise. She waited, every second feeling like an eternity. Finally, she heard the front door open and the landlord's voice calling out. Emma rushed to her door and opened it. The landlord stood there, looking concerned. "Are you okay?" he asked. Emma nodded, tears streaming down her face. "There's something in Clara's room," she stammered. The landlord went to check, but found nothing. Clara's room was as empty as before. "I believe you," he said quietly. "You're not the first to experience this, Clara. She never really left." Emma moved out the next day. The apartment stood vacant for a long time after that, the whispers and footsteps driving away anyone who dared to stay. Clara's presence lingered, forever trapped in the silent apartment, searching for peace that would never come.